We're back. What's happening, guys? So this wasn't a tutorial, almost like none of my videos are. So I'm just installing the Acerbis, kind of a polymer plastic, ABS type of plastic. I'd say more polymer like a gun body. Acerbis skid plate for the Yamaha Tenere 700. This is a 2024. I just put the cover guards on the ignition and clutch cover. They also cover the water pump here. I'll get you a little better visual of this after getting yapping. But so I put the covers on both sides that come from Acerbis. You end up taking about 4 bolts off on this side, your original bolt hardware. You have to put these little collared sleeves on there, and I meant to keep one out to show you guys. It was a pain in the butt. So there's these little collared sleeves that go on the back side of the holes to keep these parts on with the original hardware, and obviously torque spec them back down to whatever the manufacturer suggested torques are. But this is a really good system here, and when it's coupled with the Acerbis skid plate, obviously the coverage is amazing. I'll show this to you when we do a little bit of a walk around on this thing after I get done talking. Mind you on this, so a lot of people are going to opt for a metal skid plate. They're going to want a skid plate that mounts to the 4 original bolts, potentially maybe a hanger for another bolt back in here. I get the whole idea of that, the steel or stainless steel style. Some, like I've seen the Tusk has a stainless steel or maybe aluminum with a slide plate in the middle. That's I like that design a lot too. I'm trying to lighten this bike up. I don't want a big heavy behemoth. I want this thing a lot lighter than it came stock. So I'm good with, the polymer plastic. I'm not trying to take this thing to, out the king of hammers and go do the moto, the king of the motos or anything like that. So I'm not planning on panning this out on everything. And although I do like the idea of having the 4 bolts with an additional bolt close to the swing arm that some of the other companies offer, I'll show you, and I'll bring the video, the camera in here. This does use the original 4 bolts. I kept one out to show you. It has a nice collared sleeve. So it's an Allen, a button head, and it goes inside this little sleeved insert. So that is not overwhelming as far as this giant bike having a little skid plate on the bottom. Could these rip through? Of course. Did they do the best job they could to try and obsolete that option and keep it there? Of course. So these 2 front ones are kind of a direct bolt size-wise. The bottom one has a little bit of a wider, longer cut, so you can adjust that if you needed to. I've already gotten the front ones lined up, so there's really no adjustment needed on here. This is a 5mm Allen, like a button head or bolt head, or what they call that thing. But yeah, so the fronts are pretty accurate. The backs have a little bit of play in them, so you can go back and forth if you needed to. Now, thickness-wise, I'm really impressed by this. The feel of it's great. The look of it's phenomenal. It's much thicker than the skid plate that comes with the bike. Probably going to be similar to the protection though. This being thin aluminum of some form, this being a little thicker polymer, this will slide and glide a little bit better. Direct impacts will probably be very similar. This will retain its body. If it gets hit, it'll kind of come back out, and it'll deflect and it'll absorb. This would basically dent and stay that way. So I wouldn't say this is a massive upgrade over the stock, but it does have better coverage on it. Does have a better resistance as far as sliding. It's not going to hang up like some of this will on the aluminum. It's not going to dent like the aluminum. Like I said, I've ridden polymer style skid plates. I've ridden the AXP stuff on some of my KTMs and other bikes in the past, and my dirt bikes. This is an Acerbis, like I said. This is a 2024 Yamaha Tenere 700. So I'm happy with it. Like I said, big difference over the stock one. It does have swing arm protection. It does have protection on the frame where your foot pegs go too as well. So I was pretty surprised on that. It's very inexpensive. I think it's a worthwhile trial and error. People say, well, trial and error, what if it hits and damages your motor, blah, 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 all this stuff. I mean, I ran polymer skid plates on big adventure bikes and did rock gardens and crazy shit back in the day. I have no intention of doing that on this bike. Obviously, you can't plan for everything. Could have that one rock, whatever. It could happen. But I mean, I'm not really that worried about it. It's very thick, very quality product. 4 bolts on there, just like the original one, but it does cleat and kind of grab around the bottom of the supports of the frame to where the foot pegs mount up, and it does have a little flap to cover your swing arm, so when you're gliding over stuff, it can hit and not hit your swing arm or damage that. I think this is a phenomenal skid plate. I think it's very underrated. Obviously, we'll go try it out. If I'm 3 months down the road and I blow something apart, you'll know that it didn't work out, but Acerbis is not a joke-around company. They've been around doing this for a million years. They test their stuff. They're all enthusiasts as far as the people who build their products. It's not just a plug and play. The company's been around a long time doing this. So heat guard's missing right here. I'm going to just paint that black. It's just using the stock one, so it does have good coverage up on here. It does allow for that original part that goes up here, little same color as this would be right, right little spot right here. So I'm going to use that same original stock cover like it's intended to be, but I'm just painting it black for vanity reasons. But yeah, let me do a little walk around here on this, best I can. So let me show you here, underside. Bolt, original bolt placement with that new style bolt. There's your bolt that has a little bit more of, where is it? Where's my hand at? Right here. So that bolt has a little bit more leeway as far as adjustment. I like this part right here. It's probably my favorite part, where your foot pegs attached to the frame have these nice cups that go around here. There is flex, so you can see this. It's riding on there, but imagine if you hit impact, people are saying this would break. Well, you have this support here, support on the other side, support on the swing arm, on the linkage down here, and the bolt in place. So the biggest problem I would see on this, if you hit it hard enough, you'd probably wallow out these holes potentially. But like I said, coverage is amazing. I'll show you on the swing arm back here. And what I'm looking at right here, guys, because I'm not even looking at the camera, but you can see you got coverage back here on the linkage. I like that a lot over stock. I like that over even some of the metal ones are out there. Don't cover that. This is important. If you hit this on a rock or a stump or something like that, if you do get in some more precarious areas, it's going to be a big difference. So you don't want to damage that. Your shock is not cheap. The linkage is not cheap. And like I said, I love that it has some support down here on the back of the areas, in the under area of where the foot pegs connect. And I think that's going to be your disbursement. You hit this hard enough, like I said, wallowing these out, wallowing that would be my more concern. But as far as the hit and displacement, I think it's going to take a lot of brunt and distribute the impact like it should. So, and like I said, it couples really well with the water pump cover, ignition and clutch cover. I mean, just a cool setup. So I think it looks badass. Looks aren't everything, obviously. Protection is. Like I said, I trust this company to do a damn good job. The instructions sucked on this. It was basically like, hey, put your stuff on. So nothing special there. It does show you that the componentry comes with it. The little, little flanged out collar style washer. But like I said, great looking piece. I'll be putting that heat shield back on after it dries. It's cold today, so paint's not drying fast. But loving the way it looks. Very, very clean. Covers that front, your oil filter really well. Obviously, you got to take this off to get to your oil filter. Not a big deal. I like this. These are countersunk and clean. They're not going to catch anything. I think it has a really good design on it. And like I said, I wasn't even aware of the fact that it dispersed or that coverage out here, and I think that'll help disperse impact. So I think it's a really good setup. There's that cover on their side. So this is a 3-bolter, the other one's a 4-bolter. Very, very simple. Uses the original componentry with little color washers. But I think it's looking good. A little Mad Max-like. I originally wanted a black Tenere. I wasn't planning on buying the blue. Even though it brings out my eyes when I'm riding. So my mom and my grandma said at least. But yeah, I run the all blacked out, Black Death style. Had all my other bikes like dark green and black, or obviously KTMs have orange. You got orange, white, and black. The blue looks awesome, but I just wasn't a fan of blue rims. I really wanted a black bike in general. I bought this one with 390 original miles on it for a couple $1,000 less than a brand new one, so I couldn't go wrong. So anyway, that's why I got the black and blue kind of contrast going, but I'm happy with it. So anyway, thanks for tuning in on this one. Sorry it wasn't a full tutorial. There's not many tutorials out here. I think maybe the guy's name was Ken Moto, something like that. He had done kind of a tutorial on installing this. It's literally take the 4 bolts off, guys. Clean it if you want. I did not. And then put the 4 bolts back on. So there's not much to it. Also, one thing you can't catch in here, and you may or may not see in the illustration, probably not, down in this area right here, this area down here, there's a clip on each side. So you can actually clip this and hold it in place while you get ready to set it up. So you just go clip, clip, and it just sits there. So it's a very, very easy install. And the coverage is great. Like I said, I think it's a very, very good coverage design. Like I said, that linkage is a very, very cool part right there. And it's definitely better than the stock one. It may not be tremendously better, but I think it's going the right direction. I think I'm gonna be very happy with it. It's what I was looking for. I am impressed with it. So what the hell is that? An ambulance? 4x4 ambulance? Someone must have need a Band-Aid off road. But anyway, that's a project for another day. Right on, guys. Stay tuned. We got a couple more things to bolt on this sucker. Get her all ready to go. Doing a little bit of moto camping.